So we're back again in the house of Sizzling Tofu for another episode of John and Sean's House Party Podcast. We're completely done away with the cold open.
That we have.
And before we get into today's episode, which is going to be a bit different than normal, it's a bit of a special. What tea are you drinking, Sean?
PG Tips. It's trying to slightly caffeinate myself, but not too much. I had a mini heart attack last week, so I'm trying to not drink coffee at home anymore. So
an actual mini heart attack?
It was I get palpitations.
Okay.
So yeah, being dramatic, but
I
was about to leave a room, and then I had to just lie down for 10 minutes while my heart raced. So I was like, this is one of those times where I think about all the caffeine I take, and I was like, maybe I should do less. So
yeah.
Yes.
There's got someone at work who had to sort of lie across their desk in the morning, sort of really lie back, and presumably because he was having similar difficulties. So
hopefully it's not happened to me at work. That would suck. Yeah, but this occasion, I was lucky. I was in a room with a bed, so I could just lie on the bed. Well, I didn't have a drink, so I just had to go thirsty. I get very thirsty when it happens.
Okay, oh dear. Well, I've got an Assam tea from the Indian. Do you call India subcontinent?
It's commonly called subcontinent, I think. Yeah.
From the Indian subcontinent. Bit musky. Is it musty or musty or malty?
I'd probably call it musky out of the three.
Musky. Okay. Well, that's our teas. So yeah, we don't have any games or any quizzes or any jokes, or not even a Charity Shop Showdown this episode.
No, it's a really different one.
Though this is sort of related to Charity Shop Showdown, as you might remember from last month's episode where we volunteered at charity shops. One of the customers donated a whole crate of sort of tapes, like audio tapes and CDs and vinyl records, maybe even some phonograph records, some wax cylinders, even some hi-8s. And I thought they all looked pretty good, so I took them home and put a tenner in the till to pay for them.
Right.
So we're just going to be fishing through this crate in this episode and listening to, and I noticed they're all sort of outsider musicians.
Ooh,
so obviously someone probably had an interest in outsider musicians, decided it was a complete waste of space, so got rid of them, or perhaps they passed away and their family thought, what's all this trash they've been collecting? This all sounds awful. We'll take it down to the charity shop, but it's got a new home. And I thought we'll just talk about outsider music and then go through some of them. Before we do get into that, actually, did you listen back to what the Podfathers had to say?
I did not. No.
I didn't either. So
I'm assuming it was all good feedback.
Yeah.
I've not heard their commission for this episode, so I think that means they had nothing to say.
Out of sight, out of mind, and I think they obviously thought we had no need for further consultation.
That's good. So I hope our sponsor is satisfied with their purchase.
Yeah, a risk-based approach, and they obviously deemed us low risk. Therefore, we do not need to be approached again. Do you know what outsider music is to begin with, Sean?
No, but my best guess is it's someone in a garden making music. Is that right?
Garden music. It could be perhaps garden music,
right.
Or I've got a little list of things that it could be.
Okay.
And a list of things that it probably isn't.
Right.
This isn't like sort of a checklist. You don't have to check all these boxes to be outsider music. It's more modular, so you can be like sort of one or two, but not necessarily all of them. So I've got sincere but inept, made by individuals who lack musical training or who completely discard it, made by people outside of the neurotypical norm, often private pressings or sort of privately recorded tapes rather than studio work. So there's a sense of sort of eavesdropping quite often when you're listening to outsider music. I guess it's not really perhaps was intended for mass consumption, though oftentimes it really was intended for mass consumption, but obviously it would never have ever have gotten to that sort of widespread level. Lo-fi home recordings. It doesn't have to be recording artists only. It can be composers or producers of music. And weird.
Right.
It's another sort of big one. And what it isn't, though, is songs that are purposely made as novelty songs.
Right.
So Weird Al Yankovic isn't an outsider artist because he is purposely making parody music. Often though, when outsider musics do get commercial releases, they might be sold as novelty, but that is obviously the distributor adding that label onto the music, not the original artist. Things that are avant-garde, purposely bad, or intentionally strange, these often on outsider music, because they're often made from people with musical training and talent, etc., and they're either doing something on purpose to parody something, or they're intentionally breaking the norms in experimental effort. Music that's low effort and bad. So a keystone of outsider music, it has to have some sort of sincerity behind it. If we just sat here and recorded a song right now, that's probably not going to be outsider music, because we're perfectly aware of our limitations, and we wouldn't sort of think it was art, I guess. And celebrities releasing albums just for money. So sometimes you do get celebrities who just want some cash, and they decide to record an album, and they're not singers or whatever, so the album's usually pretty bad. However, this doesn't really count. It's more of a cynical thing. Sometimes you do get celebrities that record records and are kind of outsider music, because they are sincere and they do think they suddenly have some sort of musical talent and sort of artistic merit in their record. So if they're kind of a bit delusional, then perhaps, but typically, no, they don't count. So this isn't obviously an exact list of things. This would be a very vibe-based approach. So if you or the listener do kind of notice people you don't think belong in the outsider category according to those checklists, well, too bad. You can always write in and say, and demand they be cut out.
We appreciate that. Yeah, any feedback on that? Yes.
But it's not my fault, because remember, this is all stuff I'm getting from this mysterious collector's crate of music, so it's their fault for putting it in there in the first place. So yeah, let's get straight into it. The first one I thought we'd talk about is Tiny Tim.
Oh, now this I do know, yes.
So Tiny Tim is perhaps the most famous outsider musician, albeit his fame was quite short-lived, or at least to do with a very short period of his career, and he was again marketed as a novelty. So he did reach chart status with Tiptoe Through the Tulips, and appeared on a lot of TV shows such as The Tonight Show, which he had over 20 appearances on. Yeah, it was he had a very brief heyday. He even got married on television to his wife Miss Vicky, who divorced him shortly after, so it was likely to very much a publicity stunt that he wasn't necessarily kind of in on. Quite a flash in the pan in the mainstream consciousness. However, his artistic career has spanned decades and decades. So he's a Lebanese Jewish New Yorker with long hair. He typically used to wear a lot of grease paint. He was a germophobic, often having 5 showers a day. Would you don't tend to go for showers at all, do you? You're a bath.
I'm a bath man. I had a bath earlier.
So you could have 5 baths a day?
No, the most I could reasonably do is 2. It's like the 4 or 5 showers is just it's too much.
He had a strong love for Jesus Christ, despite his Jewish upbringing. And he also, another strong love he had was for young ladies.
I see.
Though he didn't believe in sex outside of marriage. So he always treated these young ladies with respect, always calling them Miss. And he even used to volunteer to clean apartments just to be sort of close to them. So his musical style is mixing high falsetto with deep baritone. As we sort of move to the end of his career, you probably notice deep baritone becomes more a norm in his tunes. And he didn't really sing original songs. He covered a lot of sort of old-timey popular music, ranging from pre-World War One just to right through the sort of 30s and 40s, all those sort of tin pan alley days of music. But he also did some modern covers as well. and he had quite an encyclopedic knowledge of this sort of music. So unlike a lot of outsider artists, Tiny Tim was not necessarily a hack musician. He sort of knew about music and what he was doing, and he had a good singing voice, but he was just a strange and singular act, especially since he played all of his songs on the ukulele.
Wow.
So without further ado, I think let's listen to Tiptoe Through the Tulips.
Sure.
So what do you think of that?
An experience. It was somewhat pleasant, but also just slightly unpleasant. I can't imagine, listening to
unusual.
Pleasant, it's
sort of a strange, almost a séance with old music. He's sort of bringing back these bygone hits.
Do you know when the original song came from, in particular?
So it came from the late 1920s. It was just featured in a film called The Gold Diggers of New York, which is how a lot of kind of popular music came about, in that it was you had these tunes featured in songs, and then they got released on phonographs or vinyl, or whatever the contemporary format was. So that's the type of song that Tiny Tim often sort of revived, was these like old 1920s popular songs that have just became entirely sort of forgotten about, really. He performed in a lot of different venues throughout his career, and I think this sort of sums up his highs and lows and sort of outsider sensibility and what sort of places allowed him within their walls. So he started off often performing in Herbert's Museum and Live Flea Circus, which was in the basement of a penny arcade, and he performed alongside other acts like former heavyweight boxers who sort of just didn't box, but they just went on stage for people to look at them. Magicians, jugglers, people with deformities, so like freak shows. I'm doing italics with my hand. Supposed hermaphrodites, and of course a flea circus. So this was sort of the place that Tiny Tim was a denizen of. So he sort of came from this strange freak show-esque environment before he sort of moved on to sort of these hip Greenwich Village cafes like Cafe Bazaar, lesbian clubs like Page 3, of course The Tonight Show. He also played at seedy Boston punk dives, one called The Rat, played a concert at the Royal Albert Hall with a full orchestra, and that's the only time he sort of recorded with a full orchestra, so I imagine that lent a different sort of feeling to his songs rather than just his normal ukuleles. He was in a regional Wisconsin slasher film called Blood Harvest, where he played a deranged clown, and some of his music was featured in that. And the film basically sets him up like he's going to be the murderer, but it turns out he's not the murderer, it's actually his more normal, outwardly normal brother who's the murderer. He did a show at the Luna Park, amusement park in Sydney, where he played 72 songs in a non-stop medley to sort of break a world record for the centurion of the invention of the phonograph. He played at the Island of Man Music Festival, where he played a lot of early British music, such as There Will Always Be in England and The White Cliffs of Dover.
There'll always be an England while there's a country lane.
He played, and then ultimately his final performance was in the Women's Club of Minneapolis, where he had a heart attack on stage drawing Tiptoe Through the Tulips, and he died in that performance. So he died on stage.
That's a tragic tale.
Quite well, do you think it's tragic?
I
guess he had
I guess he died doing what he
decades
loves,
spanning career. Everyone has to go at some point.
Yeah, I guess it's as good a way as any other. I guess more than like dying in his sleep or something.
And he did have his third wife with him at that point.
Okay.
And he probably reached the highest that any outsider musician perhaps has reached.
Yeah, it sounds like it. It's quite the list of achievements considering his work. Like it's alright, but like I do wonder if anyone really like actually enjoyed his music seriously.
I don't know. He recorded several albums, but that's the thing about silent music. It's how you'll never get mainstream enjoyment where people just flock to buy your records and stuff. You'll always be enjoyed by sort of as an oddity, whether that is laughed at or whether that's just enjoyed because it's different and unique. So I think we'll play a little bit from a song he actually started his 72 song medley at Luna Park with. It was called Mr. Phonograph.
Alrighty.
My name is Mr. Phonograph, and I'm not so very old. My father, he's called Edison, and I'm worth my weight in gold.
Well, that sure was an experience, and that's the most positive thing I can say about it.
It's from 1878, that song.
Right.
The first recorded bits of music.
It's very repetitive and dull. It's kind of like a pitiful children's entertainer.
You think? I think it's a kind of a cute way to introduce the phonograph. In that it's a song from the phonograph's perspective.
It's a very self-important phonograph. Thinks it's worth its weight in gold, which it probably is, but I think it could be slightly more modest about it.
Home music. I think you could be a bit immodest about that. Okay, well, we've listened to a couple from his falsetto sort of voice, so I think we'll finish with one later in his career, in his baritone, where he's accompanied by his third wife.
Okay.
For you and I have a guardian angel on high with nothing to do but to give to you and to give to me love forever true.
That was pleasant. Yeah, much more normal.
Alongside Miss Sue.
Yes.
In his early career, he might have done both parts of that song.
Yeah.
He did typically do recordings like that, where he would have done a baritone for like a man's role in the song, and then his falsetto for the woman's role. But here, obviously, he had his wife to.
I'm glad it was very cute. Like he had someone to sing it with. He wasn't alone. They sang together. Yeah, I thought it was really pretty. It's it just feels more listenable, enjoyable. Really happy for him. It makes me feel better about his death. That like he at least had someone.
Okay, and I always like in a lot of his songs he talks to the listener. He gives sort of little introductions or little explanations about the song, or sort of just acknowledges that you're listening to a home recording. But yeah, Tiny Tim. So next we have Congresswoman Melinda Jackson Parker, a Liberian singer who served a term in the House of Representatives of Liberia, so she can call herself Congresswoman.
Yes.
She was known in the capital for her strange makeup and colourful clothes, often carrying around a bag of sweets to give to children. So quite a sort of popular local figure, and she did record music. She sung, accompanying herself on grand piano, and her songs often included sort of a folk romance about bush cow milk, and most notably, in sort of the imagination of the outsider musician fan, her songs about the dangers of mosquitoes. She recorded at least 2, I think there might have been more, but 2 of them are the ones that are sort of more widely available. So let's listen to Cousin Mosquito, number 1.
Beware of Cousin Mosquito and his solo. Take no chances. For Cousin Mosquito saps all of your blood and send you to your grave before time. So take my advice. Avoid Cousin Mosquito and his solo.
My goodness. That was a journey.
Do you think it provided a essential like sort of public safety service?
No. I didn't feel like it was very detailed. It was a warning, but I felt like there could have been a bit more content in it. It was enjoyable, but like I wasn't convinced enough. I heard there was a sting of death, but that was about it. How should I avoid the sting of death?
Well, perhaps it was just drawing attention to mosquitoes being a dangerous creature.
Yeah, I guess it's provocative in that way. That like it gets the attention, but yeah, you'd want a follow-on message to like tell me.
No, there is Cousin Mosquito number 2.
Oh, I'm glad. That is a good point. Yes,
this is along the same themes, but it's a mix of sort of spoken word and a more lively chorus.
Yeah, I was getting ready to complain that it was the vocals weren't really singing, but then she sure sang in the chorus, so I'll give her that.
Do you pick up on the lyrics?
Cousin.
Cousin, and I think it goes. I think she says cousin over 100 times in that song.
I could believe she does. Yeah, it was said a lot. Good on her. I'm not sure I could have come up with that.
No. Okay, our next outsider musician is Louie,
right?
A nightclub performer who invented the touchy genre. Have you heard of the touchy genre?
No, but it sounds problematic, so I would like to know more.
It didn't particularly proceed much after Louie.
Okay.
It's just sort of a genre that he made songs for, and then no one else particularly adopted.
But I think that's impressive to create your own genre. I'll give him that.
Yeah. So the touchy sort of genre of music, so there's several songs that he made in the touchy genre, was initially introduced to the world in an album that sold up to 25 copies. Louie plays all the instruments himself.
Right.
So these include guitars, drums, horns, and synths.
Okay.
And of course he sings. His touchies were mariachi-esque, easy listening lounge music, intended to encourage touching whilst dancing. So he was all about human contact. There's a touchy song about tacos, I believe, that he's talking about how tacos that are handmade taste so much better because of human contact than sort of factory made tacos. Right. And this is sort of the philosophy he has in his music. It's all about the sort of joys of human touch. So we'll listen to Our Touchy, the touchy that introduces us to the genre.
Alrighty. So yeah, there's a few interesting points there. So one being, this is decent. There's just a lot going on, slightly more too much for my taste.
I am playing up to 14 trumpets in certain spots in this composition.
It's like
too maximalist for you, is it?
Yeah, I think kind of music kind of should have layers, like maybe quieter bits and louder bits. So maybe you should have like one main bit, in my opinion, and there were like maybe two main bits that felt like they're competing for attention, and it's kind of discordant. And then I guess the other thing would be, yeah, his interesting philosophy that like touching is good, but at some point like you need to stop touching.
Pa, 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 pa means 1, 2, touch no more.
It's interesting. He
You need-
advocates like a temperance, I guess.
You need an ending to touchies, otherwise touchies will be internal.
Mm-hmm.
And what else did he sort of teach us about how to compose a touchy if we
Well, you have to start with the trumpet.
a
wild trumpet, yes, in
trumpet.
particular, yeah.
So we have to keep that in mind. And
Right.
if we were to make a touchy, you know, there are rules.
Right.
You can't just call any bit of music a touchy. It needs a wild trumpet intro. It needs a ending, a specific ending, or like ba ba ba, something along those lines. And
It's a unique combo. To me, it doesn't sound like the recipe for a touching. I don't think because if I'm bouncing to this, it's hard to hold some. I guess you hold on, but like a foot to nose, trying to do that while also dancing. I mean, I guess you have to
would
lie.
be quite an advanced.
Yeah, I feel like you have to
touchy
lie down
dancer.
to do that, or you need to be very flexible. Ideally, you're lying down and just kind of wiggling, which is a very well, I guess it's outsiding tempo.
No, you can use the touchy music for whatever you want, Sean.
Okay.
You could do your lying down dancing if you want, or you could
I feel it's
be
more like
conventional.
spasming. I guess it's
Whatever, Louis, however you want to approach it. I think with the album that sold up to 25 copies, he had a little touchy badge,
Right.
and you wear the touchy badge where you want to be touched by your touchy partner,
Right.
and presumably they also wear a touchy badge where they want to be touched, so you can kind of, you know, you could put your touchy badge on your elbow if you for whatever reason want to dance with your elbow being the contact point,
Right.
and they might put it on their hip, let's say, and then so you dance with your elbow to their hip. So he you know, he's got this whole sort of philosophy of the genre covered right out the gate.
Yeah, I feel like he should have like an online course for this or something. I guess if he were doing this today, maybe that would be an interesting approach to trying to get the whole philosophy together. But otherwise, yeah, it's not something I can imagine having embraced. I don't think where I would choose my content. I'd probably pick like I don't know, the middle part
The
and the
wrist.
upper
Forearm.
the forearm, upper part of the forearm feels like that's where I'd be most comfortable. What do you think was your most comfortable touchy point if you had to do it?
I think like the palm of your hand would be the easiest
Yes.
touchy point if you really wanted to like dance.
Mm-hmm.
I think nose is a very awkward, which you suggested, especially, you know, if someone else chooses their like elbow. Nose to elbow sounds quite
Yeah.
you're gonna get elbowed in the face.
Yeah.
You know, there's some more dangerous touchy points. Maybe your sort of shoulder. If the other person had a touchy point on this, you could sort of dance shoulders to shoulder.
Yeah, shoulder is doable if you're slow.
It's hard. It'd be nice to see people dance to touchy.
I would be curious to see people actually doing it. Yeah, to
But-
see how practical it was in practice.
Okay, let's conclude Louis with a extract from the album's liner notes. It reads, "A master musician, Louis will make you come, and glad you came. A superb showman, he will sting you with his searing songs and pierce your innermost with his pearly trumpet. He will caress you, he will force your feet to fidget and seduce your silent hands. His beat will bow your head. This tall music matador oozes his music from 10 fingers, 2 feet, 2 knees, his mouth and 1,000 brains. And in this all-inclusive posture combination of mind and body and muscle and spirit overwhelms the strong, the meek, regardless of age, sex, or religious relationships." Well, the next one, outside musician we have, is Wesley Willis. A huge man, that's sort of tall and quite a beast. He was diagnosed with schizophrenia, and his musical style was he would sing his songs and accompany them with his electronic keyboard, which he used auto accompaniment on. He says he's written over 35,000 songs. It's quite a huge body of work.
Yeah.
And he was known for greeting his friends with a headbutt. which left a permanent bruise on his forehead. So he wasn't about shaking hands, he was all about doing these headbutts. As well as being a musical artist, he was also a visual artist, and he drew sketches, often of his hometown of Chicago, so streetscapes, which he sold on the street, along with selling his sort of music directly to music stores. So he used to go into a music store and sell his CDs to them to then sell on. So let's get straight in and listen to his song Rock and Roll McDonald's.
Okay.
McDonald's is a place to rock. It is a restaurant where they buy food to eat. It is a good place to listen to the music. People flock here to get down to the rock music. Rock and roll McDonald's. Rock and roll McDonald's. Rock and roll McDonald's. Rock and roll McDonald's. McDonald's will make you fat.
That was truly incredible. I think it's my favourite one I've heard so far today. For I hope all 35,000 songs are of the same quality as that. But I learned a lot about McDonald's and its fat content.
I mean, you find, a lot of them are similar in structure. Obviously, there's only so many auto accompaniment tunes that you can have in your electric keyboard, I think. Sure, yeah. But on the surface, it sounds like a celebratory song about McDonald's and what a great place it is to hang out, especially if you like rock music. But then it does, there's the undercurrent of criticism in that it has inferior burgers. McDonald's is unhealthy food, it does acknowledge that. So it's quite a nuanced song. And his reoccurring themes are songs like that are sort of observational of his sort of Chicago environment. He often rode the bus, so he had a lot of songs about bus journeys, as well as how rides he called them, which is when he had these like sort of schizophrenic episodes, which often happened on the bus. And then he wrote a lot of songs that are tributes, so to people he liked, like Elvis Presley and Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Elvis Presley was a rock star. He was the greatest. He can sing his ass off. Right on, brother.
And also just any band or person he sort of went around with or toured with, he just wrote them a tribute. But on the other side of the coin, he had a lot of whoop-asses. So songs that were about him sort of defeating people he didn't like, such as Batman, Spider-Man, Saddam Hussein, and Michael Jackson. We won't play the Michael Jackson song, because it might be getting a bit too explicit for the 5 podcast.
I see.
But he makes some accusations towards Michael Jackson.
I see.
That I'm sure we can probably all guess what those were. He also made some gross out songs, which he sung to sort of scare off his demons. So he had some demons. One was he called Nerve Wrecker, or Nerve Breaker, I think, which again were part of his sort of schizophrenic visions. But these songs, there's a documentary about Wesley Willis, and you see his sort of creative process. So he visits the zoo, and then he goes into the zoo's bookshop to buy a book about the animals, because he's inspired to make a bestiality song, tying his personal demons to do a lot of very gross and explicit things with various animals. And then he would take that song to, which he'd be like sort of thinking up in his head, he would take that to Kinko, where he would use their computer to type it up, and then he'll get them to print it out and laminate for him, and then he'll take that laminated copy to his keyboard and his recording studio to get an auto accompaniment tune and record that song. His local Kinko obviously probably became quite familiar with him and must have been quite lenient if some of the sort of explicit lyrics he frequently printed off and sort of sung to himself as he was writing to sort of get the chorus right and stuff like that. So that was Wesley Willis.
Really talented, perhaps. It sounds like quite the broad range of topics. So I think I'm curious to peruse his back catalogue.
He created art under kind of poverty and obesity and mental illness and a lot of pressures that would have made it difficult for him to sort of live his life really. And then he continually had this constant stream of output. We'll finish with talking about Wesley Willis with his song I Whooped Batman's Ass.
Okay, looking forward to it.
Batman got on my nerves. He was running me amok. He ridiculed me, calling me a bum. I whooped Batman's ass. I whooped Batman's ass. I whooped Batman's ass.
I'm sad to say my opinion of him has gone down after hearing that. I think that's a much lower quality song.
Okay, well, it's perhaps more from the heart, less,
sounds like it, yeah.
less nuanced. Though, do you notice how he always sort of ends his songs?
Yeah, I did notice the Goodbye London, Goodbye Chicago.
Rock over
on,
London, Rock on Chicago.
Rock over London, rock on Chicago. Wheaties, represent champions.
And then he has a corporate slogan that he always ends it on. So here, I think the ones we listen to, he says, "We need breakfast as champions," but he does mix it up and have several different corporate slogans. So if you're listening to the album, it's almost like an ad break, a little mini ad break between each of his songs, where there'll be some slogan breaking them up. Because musically they're all very similar melodies. They were sort of kind of blend into each other. So I guess important cut-off points. The next outsider musician we have is Ray R. Myers.
Right.
He was called the world's famous armless musician.
Right.
However, not really much is known about him, so it's sort of perhaps doubtful whether he was quite world famous. And most of the information about him is just from a 10-page self-published autobiography where he talks about himself in third person. Right. And it was published in the 1940s. So he was born without any arms.
Right.
However, he didn't sort of let that stop him, so he did become a expert marksman using his feet. He was also apparently one of the only armless person in America to have a driver's license. But more relevant to sort of what we're talking about is he also learnt to play the Hawaiian steel guitar with his feet. So Hawaiian steel guitars, if you've seen photos of them, they're sort of held differently. They're sort of kind of laying across your lap like a keyboard. And you sort of pluck like.
Yeah, there's like was it like a Chinese? There's like an instrument.
A bit like there's the Chinese or Japanese instruments that are a bit like that too. Yeah, but they do look like Western guitars.
Okay.
Apart from they have metal, sort of bits on them, a bit like a sieve, perhaps, or cheese grater. They look a bit like that on the guitar sort of front, and you sort of just have them across your knees and sort of play horizontally rather than sort of holding it to your chest. So obviously that sort of enabled him to be able to sort of play it with his feet. And in the his autobiography, there's several sort of black and white photos of him doing things such as using his rifle and obviously with his musical instrument. But beyond that little pamphlet, which does include some of his sort of written music in it, though I couldn't find any copies of any covers of it, but there's no surviving recording of him. But his songs were very much in the sort of bluegrass hillbilly sort of style, so typical sort of hillbilly themes. And beyond that little pamphlet, one of the last references to him was apparently he had a performance at a drive-in in 1969. So he had a decades-long career, it seems, though never quite became the world's famous armless musician as he sort of claimed to be. Just a sort of notable outsider, and just the fact that all the people we listen to so far obviously have recordings documenting their music, but there's plenty of people who don't have recordings that are sort of lost to time, really.
Yeah, because it's late enough that like the recordings could exist. It's just either no one thought to record it, or if they did, it just didn't get preserved.
Because he apparently played on radio quite a lot, which might be in a way a format. If he wanted to sort of lessen his novelty, it'd be an appropriate format because no one could tell he was armless on the radio. But yeah, there doesn't seem to be any recordings of him. The next outsider musician, though really this isn't an outsider musician, it's kind of a medium, is Song Poems.
Right.
So these were a service where people could send in song lyrics they have written at home and have them with a fee, and have them professionally recorded by session musicians, and then they would receive a vinyl record with their songs on, and they'll receive a few copies. I think there'll be very small print runs, and some of them had sort of delusions, often sort of encouraged by the newspaper advertisements, that their records could become hits, but they would obviously not be printed in a high enough quantity for that to happen, and they'd not be marketed at all, anything like that. So really just sort of this vanity pressing. So a lot of these song poems, as they were called, probably fair to say were quite sort of banal and forgettable tunes, and they were made on quite a conveyor belt process, and they'll just give the music to the session musicians. They would often just compose the song on sight singing, so they just read the lyrics and sort of come up with the music as they do that, and often they would just be recorded in the first take. They might reuse music on future songs, so several song poems might actually just have the exact same music in the background to them. But there's obviously, being anyone could send in lyrics and have them created, there's obviously created some strange and unusual tunes.
Sure.
And that, unlike some other outsider music we listen to, is sort of brought to life by professional musicians, which in a way sometimes adds an even stranger veneer, as they sound very sort of professionally done, but are lyrics that you wouldn't hear in a professional song typically. So we'll listen to one to begin with called Virgin Child of the Universe.
As the day comes to an end, the virgin child of the universe is swept up in the fierce drive of sexual encounters, orgasmic explosion of love enhances the child.
Well, it started off strong. It seems like they kind of ran out of lyrics, but maybe they were aiming for a certain
Well, they
runtime.
ended with a question, didn't they?
I guess.
When is the turning point?
When is the turning point? When is the turning point? I say when is the turning point? When is the
When is the ending point?
Did you
should have been the
manage
question.
to sort of decipher
No.
the meaning of that song?
I don't know if there was one. I'm not sure that the author had one. I mean, my overall conclusion was the musicians were talented managing to make that out of what they were given, because you sort of think about the words on a page, it's like, crikey.
What do you think about the procreation, or do you think that's more
It sounded
cosm?
vague. I wasn't quite clear if a child was being conceived, or if the child was doing something sexual. I really struggle with understanding lyric, or like just hearing lyrics in songs. So I heard some of the words, but I found it very hard to actually get them.
I think it was about birth.
Okay, because there was stuff about orgasmic explosion of love.
But yeah, I think that's a kind of a big bang.
Right.
You know, that's what I mean. I think there's sort of a sense of it being a sort of micro look at that moment, but also perhaps being a more cosmological focus. But you know, is this are we talking about a human child here? Are we talking about something more huge, like the universe, perhaps? Or you know, it's got sort of this sort of sci-fi spiritualism to it, I think. But I think that's an example of one of these song poems where the lyrics are incomprehensible and surreal, and you just imagine being a paid musician, obviously probably not quite where you want to be with your career. I mean, you need a bit of money, so you're recording 20 of these song poems at once, and you know, you just confront and review this deranged lyrics like that. The next example of a song poem we have is where people kind of seem to be caught up with a particular issue or a particular theme that you wouldn't typically expect to have a song written about. So this is Song of the Burmese Land.
Burmese land is like monkey land. Listen, I'll tell you so. The Afro government told the people when 10 o'clock strikes 9, don't make a noise, don't be a nuisance, let the people sleep, let the people sleep. If a permit you should get, you can make a noise. If anyone asks, you can say, a permit we have got.
I have no idea what to make of that experience.
So yeah, I think discarding sort of the colonial sort of air of racism of that song is basically about noise permits and permits to play music after 10 o'clock.
Yeah, that's kind of what I thought it was, but yeah, okay.
And it's a strange, it's a strange topic to have such, because bearing in mind, they have to write the song, send it off, and pay for it to be made. It's a strange sort of thing to decide to make a song about. And obviously, they had some sort of experience in Myanmar, and they wanted to share some bureaucratic difficulties they had, perhaps.
Apparently so, but it's not like a good or bad. It's just a note, which is stating there is this thing, you can get a permit. Yeah, it's very.
It's a strange it's a strange song, and like what I think it shows too how people are just writing these song lyrics. People who don't really have musical knowledge, and these song lyrics can be very hard to put to music. I think there's several places where it just doesn't flow, and they're very struggling to sort of compose a tune to go along with it. And there's lines of lyrics that sound like it could be perhaps rewritten to be a bit more, to flow a bit more, to sound a bit better sung, but it just doesn't quite work in certain places. So a very strange song, and there's a whole world of song poems. We're talking about outside of music, but you probably could. Song poems is such a big subcategory that you could get really into just song poems if you wanted to. And yeah, there's whole sort of compilation albums that song poem enthusiasts who have sift through all this stuff have like picked out the best ones and stuff like that.
Nice.
Moving on, we have Barry Tiffin.
Okay.
So a lot of the outside musicians we've talked about have biographical details available. We can talk a lot about Tiny Tim. Even people such as Ray R. Myers, we don't even have music for. He still has biographic details available. Barry Tiffin's a sort of an example here of how outside musicians can just exist in one sort of rogue recording and nothing else really be known about them. So beyond the vinyl, and what he sort of says in the vinyl, nothing's known about Barry Tiffin. I wouldn't really be. I tried to find stuff online, and no one seems to really know why this was recorded, who Barry Tiffin was, beyond the suggestion that he was perhaps potentially a homeless person or perhaps a drifter. Though again, how he then found himself in a recording studio to release this on record and why he wanted to release this on record is also a bit unclear. And this sort of recording has typically been sort of kept alive, and it's related to Elvis Presley. So it ends up on these weird Elvis Presley sort of bootleg albums where they just gather a lot of Presley related material, often sort of audio recordings of Presley speaking and sort of backstage rehearsals and all that sort of stuff, and then stuff like this Barry Tiffin song narrative. So without further ado, this is Candy Bars for Elvis.
Then I heard a voice ask that I bring the candy bars into the studio. When I saw it was you that I got the candy bars for, I became very weak all over. I guess it was too much for a poor boy and a nobody like me to be bringing candy bars to a king like you. I remember you asked me my name and shook my hand and thanked me. And then you reached in your pocket and gave me a $20 bill and said, "Here, I want you to have this."
Wow, that was a powerful experience, I guess.
So it was about, he was taking a shower from the rain in a studio sort of doorway, and somebody mistook him for somebody who worked there and sent him out to get some candy bars. And he brought them back, and it was actually for Elvis Presley, and Elvis gave him a $20 tip, and that allowed him to buy some food and shower perhaps, because he was rough sleeping and he hadn't eaten for a few days. So he got quite emotional at the end. Obviously meant a lot to him. We're not clear how sort of long ago that was.
No.
And again, how he became to be in the position to be making a recording about this anecdote that he obviously felt deeply influenced his life.
Yeah, since the narrative I've come up with in my head is that like someone like part of an open letter, like, have you got an interesting story to tell about Elvis? If so, come on in.
Maybe.
But it could be at least like whether he approached him was like, I want to tell my story, or like, yeah, it's bizarre, but I'm not, glad it exists. It's like a just small little thing that will last forever, hopefully.
But about Elvis and
a candy bar.
Next, we have a Judson fountain.
Right.
So we're deviating from outsider music here into more outsider sounds.
Okay.
And Judson fountain was kind of the Ed Wood of radio drama. So he's not a musician, but taking a bit of a wider view of what outsider music or outsider noise, I guess, could be. He recorded radio dramas in the 60s when he was in his like sort of 20s, but he was very much influenced and inspired by old-timey radio theatre and sort of Halloween kitsch. So let's just listen to him introduce one of his dramas now.
Sure.
Justin, how did you get your your idea to write the story?
Yeah, well, what happened, I said I'm dedicating this story to two of my very, very good friends, and they are from Thailand. And so what happened was I went over there to visit them. They made me very welcome. So I was kidding them. I say, listen, Piotr, what would you do if when Halloween came, I came here and I broke up everything and then I taken some paint and spray? He said to me, yeah? Have you ever spent the night in the garbage can? How'd you like to spend the night in the garbage can? I'll put you in the garbage can. So that's where I got the idea to do this story. So now, also, I want to thank them very, very, very much for very much for their friendship and the kindness of me. And okay, all right, okay. So now let's do the story.
That was atrocious. Very poorly explained.
So you didn't think he has a voice for radio?
No, that sounds like someone who should not have been interviewed. I think they're best off writing, I guess.
Yeah, he wasn't quite. He didn't sound like he quite had that prepared, or if he did have it prepared, he wasn't very good at explaining himself. But I think the essence was he has some friends from Thailand.
Yes.
He asked them what would they do if he was just a nuisance and trashed their place or something, and they said they'll sort of put him in the garbage can.
Yep.
Like sort of I guess a way of saying beat him up.
Yep.
And he was so inspired by that, he decided to make this sort of spooky morality tale, which we'll play a little bit of now, but it's called The Garbage Can from Thailand.
You sit there alone in the dark room filled with terror, and suddenly you'll feel an icy hand on your shoulder.
No!
You jump up from your chair and turn around. And standing there in back of you, face to face, is now the old man you killed. He's old, horrible looking, and he's dead.
Oh no, you!
I told you I'd come back from the grave, and I brought your Holocaust with me.
No, keep away from me, old man.
Go get him!
No, keep away from me, old man. No, please, keep away from me. No, keep away, keep back.
That was right.
I think it was about a young man who knows of a sort of dark magician goes to sort of expose him for some fake financial gain and ends up murdering him and putting his body into a garbage can. That turns out to be cursed from black magic the old man learned in Thailand, and the old man comes back from the dead for his supernatural vengeance. Very spooky story, full of quite kitschy Halloween sound effects, lots of like creaking doors and sort of wolf howls and supernatural sort of noises, with Judson Fountain being a wonky at best voice actor. This be a sort of entertainment you might listen to?
So the thing is, I thought it was like decent. Like, I wouldn't call it outside. Like, it's a bit cringe, but like it's like you said, it was the 60s, right?
Yeah.
I say so in my mind, that's about the standard I would have expected for like a radio drama in the 60s.
Really, because I think this is more like 1930s. I think in the 60s this would be seen as. I mean, think 60s. You have the Beatles.
But yes, the 60s is a weird time because it feels like a transition where as things did get better. That's the thing. They were remarkable in the 60s because they feels like the beginning of like modernism. So for me, it feels like it wouldn't be too out of place.
I don't know. I think this would be seen as very retro. This would be at least a couple of decades.
Yeah, I guess I can see it being a radio thing. Yeah, okay.
I mean, this is sort of inspired by like The Shadow and like crime pulp dramas of like depression.
Yeah, really. Okay, that's a fair point. Maybe that's it. It's I guess it's harping back to an older thing. Then yeah.
And again, he's compared as the Ed Wood of radio drama. Again, Ed Wood was quite an antiquated figure too in a lot of his films, and he was drawing from horror of like the 1940s, for example.
Right, yeah.
You know, he was quite obviously a young man. He had an interest, and he made several radio dramas. I think he sort of calls them. So you know, fair on him.
Yeah, fair on him. I was impressed. I can imagine. It's not something I necessarily choose to listen to, but I can imagine at the time, like, I would have given it a go. Probably been reasonably impressed. It like. From the initial interview, I was a bit worried, but the actual work I thought was not too bad.
Glad to hear that. Penultimately, we have Shooby Taylor, the human horn. So he's called the world's weirdest scat man. Do you know what's scatting?
No, it's the term I've heard, but I couldn't define it.
It's sort of when you use your voice as an instrument, so you're not singing words.
Oh,
you're
yes.
sort of like using it as an instrument, basically. You're sort of you're saying sounds like do ah do, you know, stuff like kind of like that a bit. And he also pioneered the air saxophone. Right. Which is where he got his the human horn moniker from, because he used to play an invisible saxophone when he was scatting. Right. He would only scat over records. He wouldn't use any live musicians in his recording, so he would have vinyl playing on the background, and he'd be just singing over it. Songs he sort of scattered over included "Lift Every Voice and Sing," which was a sort of old sort of proposed Afro-American kind of national anthem kind of song. And things like Over the Rainbow, and he also liked country gospel.
Nice.
So without further ado, we'll hear Stout-Hearted Man, performed by Shooby Taylor.
Shapara, sapado, shapahov, little that baby, ben love it, then baby do shra, so shada, rasa, pada, half lady that, silly dot baby, ben love it, little dot baby, then love it, silly do the lot, eventually do the lot, eventually do the lot,
I was a little disappointed. It didn't sound much like a horn to me.
Right, he wasn't. No, he was called the human horn because he played the saxophone, not because he was trying to imitate a horn.
Oh, okay.
He played the air saxophone but his voice was. He was scatting. He wasn't trying to.
Okay, it was fine. I don't know. What's your?
Don't you think? Would you have the sort of lung capacity to sort of just do that non-stop?
Not now.
Sort of?
With practice, I think it seems it doesn't feel remarkable. It might just be I'm not appreciating enough, but like I feel like with a couple of years of vocal practice, most people could probably do that.
And just sort of improv, know all these sort of sounds.
It just it sounded very improv to me.
That's what I mean. It's improv, but he obviously has a repertoire of sounds.
Yes.
You can you could make a sort of a dictionary of Shooby Taylor's scat noises, and he's got this repertoire that you can just sort of reel off, and like you say, it is very improvised, and there was no Shuby Taylor he in a studio, it was first time was the recording.
Yes.
If he was to re-record it, it would be something completely different.
Yeah,
or something
remembering
different.
how to do that would be hard. I'm not pleased. This is probably bottom ranked of what I've heard today so far.
Oh well, you that's damning for you, Shuby Taylor then.
Yeah, Shuby Taylor.
Okay. Finally, we have Jimmy Ellis or Orion. So he's perhaps the least qualified as an outsider musician out of everyone we looked at, in that he is a proper musician, but I think circumstances has sort of relegated him to this area.
Right.
So he was a southern singer with a Memphis accent who had quite a failing musical career because, and can you perhaps guess why? Because of his Memphis accent? We've spoken about someone else today with a Memphis accent.
I'm drawing a blank.
It's Elvis Presley. So because Elvis Presley and him sounded very similar, just because of their like accent and singing styles, he was just seen as a derivative of Elvis. And never really had any respect because of that. You know, he tries to record a record and people are like, oh, you just sound like Elvis. You sound, you're sort of ripping off Elvis.
Oh, that's
so
unfortunate.
he couldn't ever really take off his musical career because of that. And he actually recorded a song called "I'm Not Trying to Be Elvis."
Oh, okay.
Which we'll listen to now.
Well, I'm not trying to be just like Elvis. I'm doing my best to make it all my own. 'Cause he didn't have to fake a style just to make it to the top. He just kept his faith in Jesus and became king of his own.
Wow. His voice is quite Elvisy, so yeah, I feel bad. It's an interesting place to be stuck in, but he's kind of trapped.
It's very dismissive of Elvis impersonators in that song, especially posthumous ones, saying that they're kind of wasting their personal talents because people aren't going to come to see them as an individual. They're coming to see Elvis. It's Elvis's name that's getting the attention. However, there's a sad twist to this story.
Didn't tell me he became an Elvis impersonator.
He became perhaps the Elvis impersonator in that Sun Records, which produced some of Elvis's records, sort of scooped him up due to his similarity, and he became a character called kind of Orion, who was a masked singer. So he wore a mask on stage, and they sort of obscured his past identity, and it basically became a sort of like a Elvis returned from the grave, almost mythic figure, in that they tried to pass him off as if he was Elvis Presley back from the dead, or Elvis didn't die really, he just became Orion. So yeah, he sort of, after all that, he became not even an Elvis impersonator, but kind of a Elvis back from the dead.
It's even worse, I think. Yeah, it's just kind of worse, like just awful. Yeah, I think that's beyond. Yeah, if they played that off seriously, I think that's a bit much. Yeah.
He sort of continued to sort of be able to make his own music. However, that music was attributed to this Orion persona, which was intended to suggest that it was Elvis. So again, his own. Not only did he sort of, unlike Elvis impersonators, where they sort of just used Elvis's music, his very own music he made himself became Elvis's music. And the final little twist, I guess, is that because the studio, they were profiting from him exploiting Elvis's death, really, he was contractually unable to remove the mask in public. So he was forever masked in public. So, Jimmy Ellis fully sort of became lost, really, and his Orion, personality was what he was sort of forced into if he wanted to continue his music career. So that's why I sort of included him as an outsider. Well, that's why I guess this person whose charity shop crate we've got had this Jimmy Ellis's work in there because of this sort of weird aspect and kind of sad, strange story.
Yeah.
There's a whole lot of rumours that he might be Elvis's like lost twin brother. That seems even more sort of ridiculous and stuff. And I think there's this just built from his legend. But yeah, that's
tragic tale.
And that's all the outsider musicians we're looking at today.
Yeah, what lucky collection we got from Nardona.
Yeah, what do you think of this sort of genre, if you can call it a genre of music?
I appreciate it. It feels like a lot of that. I guess various art forms have people who intentionally or unintentionally go outside, and it kind of helps you reevaluate what the genre is. I think you look at it and it just gets you to like think about, well, what is it that makes music good? Because some of this may be good, some of it might not be. But yeah, they're sort of going outside, or like you look at like in the last case of like the person. It's just like
a lot of these are very personality driven works. I think that's a key theme. They're all driven by a single individual. Whilst with a lot of, I expect, more mainstream pop music, it might be more committee led with, or perhaps with thought given to the public that's listening to it, rather than just being a solely 100%, not to use the word authentic perhaps, but authentic sort of work of their own personality. So yeah, not to sort of call pop singers unauthentic as they might be, but all the 10 people we looked at were obviously making kind of music for themselves in a way, even if they wanted that music to be listened to by a lot of other people. And they none of them had like kind of anyone telling them, oh no, this isn't going to appeal, or you shouldn't be doing that in a record, or you need to do this. And so yeah, I guess in a way kind of pure, there's a purity to outsider music.
In some cases, as in the last case, it's kind of the least pure because of his, Ryan's contractual. Just like unable to be free, but still being an outsider in that way.
So I think that's the episode. Got any final thoughts, or just glad it's over?
No, I've enjoyed that. Thanks for bringing this in.
There's plenty more vinyls left in this crate, Sean.
Yeah, so there's always a chance to come back at a later date.
We'll have another fish around in the future and see what other strange delights or things that Sean's going to be disappointed and disgusted by.
Yeah, but I think there's some that I want to delve into a bit deeper, and so yeah, it's a good sort of intro to something I would never have otherwise thought to looked into.
Okay, great. Well, goodbye everyone. Do you have a joke, Sean? You usually end on a joke, don't you?
I do. What do you call a musician who plays in the garden?
A garden variety musician.
I love it. Thank you.
I got a joke actually.
You do? Oh, okay.
End on. Can I remember it though?
Oh dear.
I've got a vineyard recent.
Nice.
Really sure I'm going to make my own wine.
I see.
And I'm also got some cows to make my own milk.
Right.
So every morning, to get my cows from the shed to the field, I have to take them through my vineyard.
Right.
So I heard it through the grapevine.
Okay.
Don't get it?
It's too convoluted for me. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I was trying to put it all together in my head, but
I heard the cow.
Yes.
Through the grapevine. Literally, the cow's going through the grapevine.
Okay.
But there's also a play on words. There's a phrase called "I heard," and we've been listening to. We've heard a lot of music, so it's relevant. I heard it through the grapevine.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening, everyone.